Greetings and welcome to another edition of Between the Lines. I am your host, Karanja Jackson. We continue to fight and grapple with the economic times that have been brought by the COVID-19 pandemic. One sector that has been severely affected by the pandemic has been the business of bars and hotel associations. Today we sit down with the Bar Owners Association Secretary General, Mr. Boniface Gachoka. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
And karibu tena. You were here with us the other time when you were crying to the government to at least open. Now the bars are open. The government announced on the 28th that the president actually allowed the bars to operate from the 28th. You're a happy man, I hope.
Very.
It's
been tough for us.
Yes.
And we went around and cried to the presidency and everybody around, His Excellency Governor. And with reopening, there is a glimpse of hope.
A glimpse of hope. So we are around 3 weeks since the government actually opened the bars. And I remember in the run up to that time, there were a lot of videos on social media of people crying for freedom and songs of freedom that we want the bars to be opened.
That is true.
Have we witnessed a surge since the opening?
Yes, I can say yes. People have continued reopening the businesses, though it has been tough due to some fixed costs and some issues. But I appreciate all of them because majority, they are really trying to come up to business, though it has been tough.
It has been tough. Now, on a scale, and I remember we had been watching clips by even some bar owners crying out to the government before the reopening, saying that they have incurred losses in the tunes of millions, actually. Now, after almost 7 months of being closed, you as the head of the association, what is the association doing to ensure that some of these businesses are able to open and run?
First of all, let me take you through the statistics that has been there. And we're also calling on the government and the different partners in this industry to come up and look at those figures. Nationally, I'm the Secretary General of 54,000 bars in 41 counties. In Nakuru, I represent 2,100 bars. In Nakuru alone, we're expecting to lose 50% of the bars in this place. And the situation is very serious and very dire. Yesterday, I went round a few bars in Nakuru for me to assess how serious the situation is. And this cuts across the major businesses to even the small ones, and including some people who've been forced out of business permanently due to fixed costs. And this is one of the issues that I brought last time. When you get into a street or even in a shopping center, if you look at the same size of the shop, it would be charged half or a quarter a bar is supposed to be charged. A bar is charged. So what that explains is that our fixed cost is very high. Having closed for 6-7 months, that explains that our people have been ripped off all their savings. That is one. Number two, alcohol expires. And in this case, we are talking of our people have no money for stocks completely. I did my assessment yesterday when I went round. These people, they have no money for stocks in a very serious way. I went to Gilgil, I went to Naivasha, and I was in Nakuru town, Nakuru East and West. So with that financial constraint, when the president gave us permission and freedom to operate, right now we are talking about 50% of our people have been unable to open, and the situation is serious. And actually, we're even calling on the government, the county government and the national government, to come and see the statistics and the reality on the ground before we start talking about licenses and the other things.
When you talk about fixed costs, what do you exactly refer to?
In the running of our businesses, there were costs that a fixed cost is something that must be incurred even if you open or close. One of them is the rent. And majority of our members, they live on rents. And majority of the bars are on rental houses. Number two, initially when we closed, majority of our members were affected by thuggery because There's some investment that is put there.
Yes.
And as usual, there's always live before. There was live in during the day and at night. So majority of our members were affected. So they had to employ security. In this case, it's a professional one, because the cases were very high, especially in Nandi, in Kiambu, in Muranga. The cases were very high. Even in Nakuru, we had a few in, I think, Langalanga Street. So that is another fixed cost that was very high. And you had to maintain at least 1 or 2 employees to be cleaning, to avoid your items wearing out. So then there was even some government fixed costs. For example, NSSF, NHIF is a fixed cost that for example, NHIF especially, we couldn't have let, because as an association, there is something that we agreed with our members: send something small to our employees just for survival. So that was also a fixed cost, because we didn't want to lose the talents that we've employed, because we have very and highly talented young people, and they had nowhere to look for. So that was also, employment cost was also part and parcel. So that comes with NSSF. That comes with the pay. That comes with NHIF. Especially on NHIF, we talked to our members and told them, because it's a good emergency card, so that if a disease would strike in the family of our employees, they would still come back to us. So we agreed that it is good for us to submit that. So the fixed cost was very high, which has reaped our members seriously.
And actually, you've mentioned something that actually was a point of discussion just in the run-up to when the bars were actually opened, on the how the bar owners would actually deal with the expired products, rather. Mm-hmm. That is expired beers, expired wines and spirits. What is the association doing to ensure that these expired products are disposed and not sold to consumers?
In the run-up to the 6th month, I don't even think there's a bar that has expired product by now, because most of those products, okay, on expiry, there is something that you cannot even put it on the counter. It's already smelling. It's already inconveniencing yourself. That is holding it. We've engaged the manufacturers on these products that have expired, and after we've engaged and discussed, we've seen, we were even working on a plan on how we can return the expired products. But when we approached some of the manufacturers, we got huge stocks of expired products in the factory that they were ready to dispose. One of the manufacturers actually will lose around 300 million worth of expiry products. So returning the products to them was not, it was neither here nor there. But on those people who had huge stocks, we've encouraged them to engage Kenya Revenue Authority for them to get a reimbursement of excise duty. The same case to the manufacturers. But in the program that we are going to run, where we are going to go in all the 41 counties to do training, we're going to train our members on how they are going to dispose them. That is one. Number two, we're already running a social media campaign and talking to our people on how we are going to dispose those, and training them on how we're going to dispose those products.
Okay. The previous time you were here, and I remember you made a very hearty rallying call to the president and the government to actually lift the ban on the bars so that they can reopen, because you claim that, and actually you had the figures that the association itself and the sector of bars contributed to a very high % of the tax that is remitted to the government. The association, a day after the announcement, actually had a press conference, mm-hmm. and indicated that only bars should open and not nightclubs. Why?
30 days before we reopened, first of all, let me start by appreciating His Excellency the President for understanding us, for giving us an opportunity and giving our businesses an opportunity to exist. And the whole government. 30 days before he gave that instruction, he told us to sit down with government and develop SOPs, standard operating procedures. And we sat with the government and discussed on all those things. And part of what they were requesting, because we're still in phased reopening, that's why we are supposed to close at 10. So we have not opened fully. It's an opportunity we've been given to open, and then we continue as COVID cases goes down. 30 days, we sat with the government, agreed on a few things that we're supposed to do and not to do. And a few things that would was a point of concern on the government, that we would breach the SOPs. And one of them was dance floors. We saw it written that it's us who said. It's not us who said. It is a product that came from the negotiation with government, that the dance floors and dance halls, they should be closed for just a small period, as we are working on investment towards compliance of SOPs.
Compliance. And actually now that brings to the next question. Even during the president's speech that day, he mentioned that he had been in consultation with public health officials, and they felt that there was it was actually okay to have the phased reopening. However, there was a caveat that the bars would have to toe in line with the health guidelines protocols. How many bars, or even let's not go to how many bars, but has the association ensured that all these bars are going to toe by the health guidelines protocols?
First of all, I think it's good that I make an explanation on the kind of licenses that we have, for us to look at which part is open and which one is breaching the law. The largest establishment that sell alcohol and hotels, it has hotels and rooms, is called a hotel. From there, we go down to a restaurant. Hotels and restaurants, all through COVID, in fact, the first phase, they were opened. It's them who breached the law. That's why we were shut down.
The sausage mbili.
Yes.
Yes.
So that one was only given to the hotels and restaurants. When you go down, you meet a bar. And then the smallest one is called a keg unit. Now, a bar and a keg, they have never been opened. All through. This is the first time when they were opened. So also, it even depends with the size. And even the operating hours. A restaurant can go from 10, 11 to midnight. A club can go, or a hotel goes for 24 hours. A bar is opened at 5 to 11. 5 in the evening to 11. The same case to a keg. So let's separate there for us to see. So initially, the people who breached the law were the restaurants and the hotels. That's why it was shut. But this time round, the whole alcoholic unit was opened. One of the things that we've been doing as an association is to whip our members, because the main objective of Nakuru County Bar Owners Association is to enable our members to comply with the law. That was the main objective. And we've been doing campaigns, we'll share with you, on enabling them to reopen. Besides, the National Bar Owners Association, in partnership with manufacturers, or the Association of Manufacturers called ABAC, we've set aside funds, because culture change is not easy. To change the way of life, not even for Kenyans, even for anybody around the world, is not easy. So we're going to come up with training, which will start from, I think, next week. We're going to come up with training to emphasize, to train our members well, for them to live within COVID regulations. Because these regulations were not given to us. This is our own regulation. Though, majority of the members so far, because we've done those assessments, they're complying with the law. Those few cases that are going beyond COVID hours of operation, I think the members know that our duty is to invest in a legally operated unit. But now with COVID also came another investment on requirements, so that water points, so that marking of the floors, social distancing reduced the capacity that a pub is supposed to hold. A pub that was majority of the pubs are going to hold like 50%. So with that capacity also came the impact of reduction of revenue. And that is why we're saying the bars have been hit financially flat. They're really suffering. So besides coming with that, we're also doing social media and even text and everything, just to emphasize and tell our people that they should comply with law. But of course, we've not lacked 1, 2, 3 cases.
Exactly, and that's where I actually wanted us to come out and look at the hours. The indication was that they would operate until 10 p.m. so that they have 1 hour to get to their homes before the curfew at 11. Last week, our team went round in several bars within Nakuru County, and believe you me, they were working beyond midnight.
What I would say is this, that is based on the licenses. Ensure that when you go round, check, because a hotel is supposed to open. A hotel is supposed to open and supposed
But some
to
of
run.
these were bars, actually. They were bars.
Higher. On cases, of course, the first 2-3 days, there was all that excitement from everywhere.
Yes.
And that is an excitement, even from Kenyans. That is an excitement that we tried to manage, but we couldn't. But beyond 2-3 days after it, when we started that strong campaign and urging our members, and we got pressure from the police and everything, I think if you do your assessment this week, you'd see a very great improvement. Because yesterday I left this town that late, and I saw that improvement. And besides, the police were out there doing what they're supposed to do. So that first 2-3 days, there was that excitement. But by now, I can tell you that I have seen the few members have been arrested and such kind of a thing, which is not my wish. My wish is compliance. My wish is, and my prayer to all of them, which is a prayer that I do every day, is to tell our members to be 100% compliant.
We also hope that they will actually do this, because we will not want to have a situation where now again we close the bars and then you come here again and you make another railing call. Now let us talk about the business themselves. You have mentioned several times today, and even during the other time, that some of these the bars and other businesses that sell alcohol have witnessed a dip in profits, in big losses. Is the association trying to do anything to help these members come back to fit?
It has been a very tough period for the alcohol industry. And just the same way Kenyans were expecting on reopening that our premises would be full and would recover very fast, it has really surprised us, because even today when you get into a joint, there are no people. Because generally the economy is affected. And we're talking of 1.4 million active Kenyans who are in employment, who've lost employment. We'd call them our customers. Right now, from our assessment, we've seen most of the people are concentrating with basics, rent, food, and the others. So happy, and as we are out. And from our assessment, which is very serious, and that's why we're calling on the government, the Ministry of Trade, and also the county government, and also the Council of Governors, we do an honest analysis of the situation in the alcohol industry, because it is serious. I have gone round and I've done my initial report, though we're going to come with an official one. So that majority of these people who've opened, in fact, majority of them have no revenues. For example, I was discussing with you on an establishment that is well known in this town, whose rental expense was 700,000, beside the others, because security comes with electricity. The fixed cost only. And alcohol contributes 80 or 70% of our business. Those people, they've been forced to get into deep, to get almost 6 million worth of loan for them to start operating. So when we land on those people with licenses and the others, automatically that business will go out. That is a big establishment. Let's not talk about kegs and bars, because it is very tough. I've even, when, the potential of our business is stock. You go into these bars that we're even taking, when you look at their counter, there is no stock. And that is why we are calling on the county government to harness the Enterprise Act and the fund that is supposed to be lent to our businesses. That is why we are calling on the national government and even His Excellency the President. We will still come back to him. We're requesting His Excellency, because he gave us 2 billion that was supposed to be given to our businesses. But that fund was given to the tourism department of the ministry, or the Tourism Fund Corporation. The conditions that have been given on that fund is conditions that cannot be met with almost 50,000 of our members. Because they've asked for so many things to businesses that were shut 100%. So we are calling on His Excellency to help us try and loosen the condition for us to meet them and for us to come back to business. And we promise him on one thing. On this fund, because it's a loan, we will repay. The same case we are calling on financial institutions. We have a good number in this country to liaise with the leadership of the National Association. We talk with them for us to lend our people some money to enable them to come to business. Otherwise, it has been tough, but the potential of repayment and the financial potential of our industry is known. And the rate of default, I'm challenging all financial institutions to look at the assessment that was done by Central Bank. We are the people who honor and pay our debts very well.
You are the chairperson of the Nakuru County Bar Owners Association. I think it must have come to your attention that actually we've witnessed a rise in COVID-19 numbers here in Nakuru. And coincidentally, actually, this one has come almost with the same at the same time when we've witnessed the opening of bars. One, could you think that this is related? That the opening of bars have actually contributed to the rise in numbers in COVID in our county?
If you look at the starting point where COVID cases started increasing, was way before. I think if you look, it was a week or two before reopening.
Yes.
So automatically that does not, it doesn't correlate with the opening of the bars. But also there's something I would like to call on Kenyans and our residents in Nakuru County. Let us be responsible. Let us not joke with COVID. Hizi michezo tuko nazo hapa. I'm calling on our residents. Let us stop those jokes. Let's wear masks as a responsibility and as a way of protection of myself. Let me give you an example. Yesterday I had a friend who had gone through COVID and he suffered all that. Let me tell you, he gave us a story that we were left shaking. He stayed, he was talking about the anguish of not relating to your family, all those oxygen support and what have you. And then when you're in that hospital, you're told that so-and-so whom you were with, he's passed on. I'm telling you, it was stressful. Even when he was sharing to us, all of us were shaking about the situation. So I'm calling on self-responsibility because we will joke with this thing. We're hearing from the media there's something called the second wave.
Yes.
And I wouldn't like that thing to happen in this country. As a passionate Kenyan, let's stop joking with COVID. COVID is serious. Those simple instructions that bring, at the end of the day, if COVID gets into a house, it will affect you as a person, your family, and yourself as an individual. So I'm making a passionate call on all the residents of Nakuru County. Now leave the bar owners. Kindly, these jokes that we are doing, let's stop them. I'm also making the passionate call on our political class. We've seen all these things that are happening politically. I'll quote a presidential candidate in the US called Joe Biden. He said, if only majority of the citizens in the US would wear a mask, it will reduce COVID cases by 3/4. So my call is on the people of Nakuru, because this is my home. The same case to the people of this country. We've taken the joke too far. Just as when we were joking as a country on how COVID is there, I don't know, umeona mtu mwenye akona COVID. Umeona brother ya nani akona COVID. The president of the United States and his wife contracted COVID.
Do you also think at the same time, maybe Kenyans have noticed that, okay, after all, even our leaders are not wearing these masks. After all, they are now having even these roadside campaigns and other things. Do you think that complacency up there at the leadership level has trickled down to even the members of the Republic?
Yes, I know it has contributed because Kenyans listen to politicians more than professionals. I know it has contributed a lot. But my appeal is we will not prevent. It is your right to attend a political engagement, and we cannot do that. We will just do it temporarily, but at the end of the day, it is your constitutional right. But I'm calling on Kenyans, when we attend these political meetings, wear your masks and don't drop it. Because when you wear your mask, before we think about me protecting Karanja Jackson, let me think about myself, my family, and my children. That I can attend in such and there's also something else. When you are looking at the private costs, the private hospital costs of fighting COVID, it's 300,000. When you talk about these average Kenyans who've been affected by joblessness and what have you. That is a cost we cannot meet. When you talk about the capacity that even our PGH here can hold. In case of a wave, we don't even have that capacity. So I'm calling on Kenyans, if you must attend those engagements, wear your mask and do not drop it. Because at the end of the day, this politician that you're following, that even when you look at the case of the US, the Potter's management of COVID will be superb and it will be done. And we're also praying for him to recover.
Yes.
But that one will be done because there's all those resources.
Yes.
Right now we are talking of limited resources to run our families, to meet our rents and what have you. So I'm calling on all Kenyans to come together, and if we must attend those public engagements, let us wear our masks and let us not drop them. On the same call, even as our bars and manufacturers were suffering, we've come up with a campaign where I am the custody of masks that we are going to donate to this country. We're going to focus on the needy places, in which case is something that we've already done. We've already given to some stages, and we've given to some people in Gilgil, in Kiambu, in Murang'a, Narok. We've already given a few in Nandi. We've already given a few. Kisumu will pick theirs. So we've already come up with a campaign. And this shows the way our industry, the alcoholic industry, is responsible. Because on reopening, and from the day where we were given freedom to reopen, the only thing that will save our lives is wearing of our masks. And we are not only going to say that in this media or any other media house, we're also going to join and partner with government to encourage Kenyans to wear their masks. Do not drop it.
I just want to pick on that responsibility. We normally say alcohol impairs judgment. Will the alcohol users in our country be able to keep the mask after the drinking spree? Do you think they will be able to do that?
Part of our SOPs and part of the precautions that we want to take, and by closing the bars at 10, that time means you're sober, is and part of the great investment that we will do in training Kenyans through the media, and we'll also use media houses like these ones we've partnered with, is creating that responsibility. For example, we've done a few campaigns in this country. We did a campaign, and IT Nasipewe. We did a campaign, Do Not Drink and Drive, in partnership with the others. When we looked at the statistics, those campaigns gave very good fruits. It's only that, because we were actually ready to launch all these campaigns. And then we started getting some comments from different circles of government that we may even go ahead and shut you. So that's the reason we decided to hold. But we are planning to do a very great campaign on responsible drinking, SOPs, and management of alcohol, even in your body. So we, as an industry, Balita, in partnership with the manufacturers, we are ready to do everything possible to ensure that any compliance, the same case that we're also calling on our customers. I know you're used to all this freedom and such kind of a thing. We've come up with a measure where the bars that do not have bouncers, they'll have to do them. And we're not calling them bouncers to threaten anybody. We're calling them our customer security officers. When they request you to comply, do not dance. Kindly, our customers, comply with it. Because we have nowhere else. We have no one else who's employed us apart from our customers. But when excesses goes to excesses, we will request you to leave. Because we've turned this responsibility from collective, from socialism to capitalism. So that if it is your bar that will breach the law, it is your bar that will be closed. And I understand from our members, from the concern that we've had, our people are ready to comply with each and every law, and they're not ready to go back where we are.
Okay.
Good.
Bwana Gachoka Boniface, the Secretary General of the Bar Owners Association, is here with us in studio as we discuss what it means to have the bars opened after a long time. We'll take a small breath. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The show is Between the Lines. I am your host, Karanja Jackson. Today in studio, we have the Secretary General of the Bar Owners Association, Mr. Boniface Gachoka. And he has been with us discussing what it means to have the bars back open. Keep sending in your questions and comments using the hashtag Between the Lines on our pages of Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Bwana Gachoka, now let us talk about illicit brews that have continued to cripple our nation. What is the association trying to do, or what has it been doing in trying to fight the illicit brews in our country?
First of all, I would like to give you statistics on the impact, or how huge or how this thing is being consumed. 44% of the alcohol industry is illicit. That's a very huge percentage. We're talking of a market that has almost 36 billion every year.
Yes.
That is illicit. So before COVID, we had come up with a campaign on how we are going to engage illicit. It's only that COVID came. We will not shelve the campaign. And illicit has been, in fact, majority of the complaints that are directed to illicit, that are directed to the alcohol industry, they are brought up by illicit. Because the amount of controls and laws that have been put on our manufacturers, it is too much. In fact, we even have permanent KRA officers and public health officers. So that when you're doing your factory, you must build them an office. So the amount of control, the amount of quality control, checks and balances, and the law, NACADA, and I think our industry is the one that is mostly regulated. So majority of these complaints on that is consumption of bad liquor, addiction, and what have you, it is because of this market share of 44%. We had come up with a campaign, in which case it's not something we're going to put down. It's only that because we have a priority of managing COVID. But we will come up with a campaign on how we're going to engage our Kenyans. On the same stand, when East African breweries came with keg, that was the market of target. And that is why when I was here, I really fought for increment of prices of keg. Mm-hmm. So that was the target market. Mm-hmm. And let me say this, we have a good number, around 14,000 keg traders in this country. Mm-hmm. If there are people that I appreciate with my life, and they know that I respect them so much, it is the keg owners. Because those are the people who have saved this generation, especially the young generation. And that is why last time when I was here, and I will repeat it, I am a fan of keg, and I do take it. And they know that I do take keg. Because that is a whole generation that we have saved. And I really appreciate a very senior person in the telecom industry who was among the brain behind keg. Because when it came, we did not even believe it's going to peak. And that is why, as an industry, we are calling on protection of that product, because that is the product, even the packaging, the taste, the decent way. Let me give you an example. When you talk about illicit, these are things that you would hide there, take something that is not standard. I mean, when you look at the way those things, they've been prepared, where they're hidden, they have huge health and social and whatever. Mm-hmm. But when you get into a keg joint, there is that sense of pride. Even when you go to your friend, you tell them, I'm going to drink in that place. So that is a brand I would really like it to be protected. Let's go back. So the percentage on illicit is very huge. But we have worked with a few members of the security office, and we've seen that that is something that can be fought and is something that can be managed. And we are also calling on, because on the war against illicit, one of the package that we had was to go to those Chang'aa dens and what have you. We mentor those people and enable them financially for them to open legally operating keg joints. And I know they're going to get a livelihood. So we have a plan, and we are not only going to go out there, use the police and what have you. We're also going to mentor those guys, even the people who drink those bad liquor. I understand it's because of financial capability. So we have a plan of getting those customers and bringing them to take kegs.
And I think this one also borrows, it weighs on even on the government. Because should the government empower these people well enough, they will have enough money to even afford that mug of keg. And I remember this was something we really talked about the last time you were here, on the excise tax on the senator keg. And you were calling on the government to actually review again the decision that they had put to lift the excise duty on the senator keg. Is it something that is making progress?
Yes, I would like first of all to thank the Ministry of Finance, because I really made a passionate appeal. We made letters and we engaged with them, because they did withdraw that. Though KRA decided to increase something, which is one of the things that I would like an engagement with the government. And this is the point where we are saying the alcohol industry, I think this is when the government has felt it during COVID, because of our contribution towards taxation. So many people assume that we contribute 2 shillings. We contribute billions of money in this economy. And that is why the government went borrowing, because we were closed. So the other thing that I would call on the government and even the ministries, let us understand this industry before we put regulations and ways of how we are going to manage it. Let us understand it first.
Impressive. Now, speaking of management, a couple of weeks ago, we saw you in one of our local churches making a donation.
Good.
It was something that was actually caught the eye of so many. It's not very common when you see bar owners in a church making a donation. And you made a rallying call. At that time, you still wanted the bars to be obtained. Now, which actually brought a question. What is the association doing, especially during this time? What are these tangible things that we can talk about that you have done, not to your members of the association, but to the public, especially during this pandemic time?
First of all, I would really like to appreciate Pastor Peter Moragori of Generation Center Church in Kaptembwa. Thank you so much for hosting us. And one of the arguments that we had, of course, there was all that, let me tell you, the devil did not create anybody. All of us are God's people. And if you read the Bible, it talks about do not judge. So we really appreciate him. And one of the things that he has really changed amongst our members and even our employees, because we were even with our employees and the whole industry, is our belief in God. Because that pastor preached. We did an assessment that day when we were out there with the media houses, and we asked some guys, hey, when is the last time you went to church? Guys talked of 18 years. 25 years. The worst was 32 years. These people have never attended a church. I'm a Christian and I'm a member of a church. But there is a verse that says that before God or Jesus comes, we shall have to preach the gospel all over the world.
Yes.
If you're talking about a person who has never attended a church for 32 years, we may be taking missionary to Somalia and Sudan. And maybe it is your brother next door. And that is why, as an association, we've come up with a plan. And I'm very happy because our people are attending, are responding to it. That we will work with the church to ensure that our people attend the church every day, every Sunday. We want to bring God into our business. Because that man of God changed the way we think and the way we reason. Because he preached, he prayed, and the next day the bars were opened. So we've come to believe that there is another force beside the finances and the knowledge that we have that can help our businesses. Beside that, we've also come up with ways so that we're encouraging all our members in the country, hotels, tourism establishments, everybody, before you open your businesses, you'll be starting with a word of prayer. Beside that, for you to see how serious we were with that event, because we saw some jokes somewhere, we have appointed, Nakuru County Bar Owners Association has appointed Pastor Peter Moragori as the psychological counselor of our whole industry in this town. So we are not joking with that, because we have seen that there is another force that we can engage that can help our industry.
If one of my members was here, he would have said hallelujah. Now, okay, moving on. Earlier today, we read in the local daily that the alcohol law is back. The government, through NTSA, is planning to reestablish the use of alcohol laws. Do you think it's a coincidence that it's coming just soon after we have reopened? Or is the government actually concerned about the cases of drunk driving and drunk accidents?
I sit in an association that believes alcohol impairs judgment. We do not run away from realities. And we've seen 2-3 cases. And that's why we're calling on Kenyans, cases of accidents, to kindly let us go back to our normal way of life, which was you get into a pub, drink, take a cab. And our association strongly condemns. Let's throw that culture that came with COVID, drinking in your cars and such kind of a thing. I know it is a culture that came because of the bars were closed. So we strongly condemn those things. The bars are opened, the tourist sites are open. Let us get into a bar the normal way we were doing, because we've seen those cases and we strongly condemn them. We strongly condemn drunken driving, and that's why you're hearing we even had a campaign on it. We did put a lot of funds and those cases came down. Beside that, we've come up with another product as an association, and this is people whom we're calling standby drivers, which is a product that we're trying to introduce slowly, that is going to be absorbed by our members. In such a way, if you drive yourself to a pub, you become drunk, you can hire that driver, that person will take you home and then he'll come back to that place. So we are working on that new product. So what I will tell you is this: we are actively participating in management of anything beyond taking alcohol. We are really doing a lot of things towards it. It may not have been felt by now, but we're also trying to weigh in. Let's talk about alcohol. We have no problem with alcohol, but the worst part was the misuse part of it. I'll give you an example, because I'm a resident of Nakuru and I know so many people can relate with these cases. Alcohol reached to a point where it would be used against competition. So that if I run my business here, somebody else runs there. We go buy those things. By buying, I mean what he says, then somebody puts an alcohol on this side and this side of my pub. So anybody who gets into that pub cannot drink because it's just waited right outside.
Yes, yes.
So manipulation and misuse of that is what led to cancellation. But on the same, besides, we also condemn alcohol because of COVID. I mean, that social distance, sharing of that thing. So we still would like to call on NTSA to review. Another thing that I would like to give to NTSA, the same way we sat down with the Ministry of Trade, with NMAC, with government, and did very good policies. Kindly involve the industrial players when you make your decision. And that is the reason the Constitution has freedom of speech. That is why the Constitution has freedom of engagement. So we are calling on NTSA. Let's stop this roadside declaration. Sit down. We have better ideas. We've been in this industry for so many years. We have better ideas on how we can engage and manage. Besides, if we can do a joint campaign between ABAC, the manufacturers, the bar owners, and NTSA, and even other ministries, it would be better, because we live in a country where Kenyans do listen. Kenyans do listen. And that one I can appreciate, because let me prove to you about that. When the bars and hotels were closed, up to the time when they were opened, it is the constitutional right of every member and every Kenyan to petition the courts. 54,000 bars and employees and DJs and ward musicians, nobody went to court to challenge the government's decision. That shows how obedient our people are. And that shows how Kenyans are respectful to systems and instructions. On the same way, I am calling on NTSA and any government policy maker, engage Balita in your decision. We have done this association and people are joining it out of volunteer. Though we are working on how we are going to make our member join via legislation. But if people have joined via volunteer, it means there is something that they have had, there is something they can relate with, and there is something that they can do. So I'm calling on NTSA, engage industrial players. You will get more results and better results.
Okay. The show is Between the Lines. We are hosting the Secretary General of the Bar Owners Association, Mr. Boniface Gachoka, rather. So let me sample a few comments here. We have Maggie Kiruki who is watching. DJ Stan is also watching. Manoti Isaac says is watching, and salimia sana bwana mheshimiwa hapo.
Thank you so much.
Oh, there's a question. How does one get to open a bar in Nakuru? What are the minimums?
Yes. There's something I want to say. I have mentored a few people to get into this business. And I'm calling on the youth because that is the future of this nation. Hii uoga yenye tuko nayo. I can give you an example. Last week I was somewhere in the village of Moranga. I talked to a friend of mine and I told them, these people who are learned, these people who are calling themselves graduates, it is our duty to create employment. It is not our duty to write so many CVs and give them to everybody. It is our duty to create employment. And that is a challenge I'm calling on each and every person who's young. It is our duty to create employment. Now, I met this friend some years back who was working for a major bank in this town. Told me the way he was earning peanuts and what have you. I told them, if you went to campus, you're more exposed and your mind is higher. You would understand things very well. You would understand legislation very well. I encourage that guy to get into business. Let me tell you, right now as we are talking, that guy is somewhere in Monanga, in Katanga constituency, with 5 bars, 2 years into the business. And that guy tells me legislation does not affect him. He complies with each and every part of the law. That young man, after 2 years, he has 18 employees. So I'm calling on all the young people to come, we mentor them to get into this business. This business has money on one thing, that you will comply with the law. So that person who wants to get into business, you give them my number. We will mentor you, and any other person who want to engage into the entertainment industry. Let me give you something about the entertainment industry. Nobody started large. Nobody. It's just the basic things of customer care, accept in your heart to follow the law. And do not fear, because there's one thing that I think it's said worldwide. The higher the risk, the higher the returns. Let's go and engage in these risks. These are things that can be managed, and these are things that can be done.
And should anybody who is watching want to maybe reach out to you, which are the official means that he or she can get through you?
Beside that, let me add something, because my heart is with the youth and the young generation. We are in the process of reopening. Right now as I'm talking to you, I have 30 vacancies of jobs in this town. That is, I can't say in this town because I'm in charge of the whole county. We have very good opportunities in Naivasha and whatever. So the whole association, there's something that we decided as we are reopening, because by now we've already lost a lot of talents. We also, on the side of hiring, most of the industry players, the bars, hotels, and tourism, they direct their jobs to me. So what I'm calling on the youths, I'm going to give you my email address. I'm also going to share my number. And kindly, when I share my number, WhatsApp and SMS, because we also have responsibilities. Being the CEO and the SG is also a lot of work. So WhatsApp always, and SMS, I'll always answer anytime. I'm calling on all of them to come and take these jobs. Like yesterday, there's a big establishment just down here. That lady has been calling me for the last 5 days. She's interested in waiters and security officers and a good number. Those are jobs that I wouldn't like our people to be denied. So my number is 0713 882 822. It is 0713 882 822. My email address will be shared in the social media pages.
Okay. I also see Hezron Onwanga who says, Hapo Poa, CEO, keep it up.
Good. That is an advocate in our association.
Oh, impressive. On Monday, our students go back to school. That is class 4, grade 4, class 8, and form 4. Your honest view about this, because it has evoked a lot of discussion about the same. Are we ready to send our students back to school?
I am for our students to go back to school. But also, I'm also for the group of leaders who are asking for us to do an audit of preparedness of the system. Don't forget, we're still using our schools as quarantine centers. And so I am of an honest opinion that we should reopen because I love education and I love empowerment of our children. But let's do an honest audit. Let's confirm that it is true that we have built capacities. Don't forget, with free primary education came the challenges of capacity, the challenges of infrastructure. So I would, I'm seeing Professor Makoha doing a lot of work towards it. And of course, I think in schools in Kenya, we have very good controls of audits because I've seen such kind of a thing. So I am for the schools to be reopened, and I support that. But let's do an audit of state of preparedness, because no parent is willing to lose their children with COVID. That one take it to the bank. So I'm really praying that an honest audit will be done. Let's do it first. Even the bars were opened first. Let's do it first. Yes, as they've done with Standard 4 and the others. Let's look at the capacity and assess. But before we bring them to class, let's first of all assess and see if they're ready to, the systems are ready to hold the children.
So one last question, actually, from one Balozi Daniel Ngetich, who asks, actually he comments and says that it was a very good thing that your association actually went to church. It was quite notable. Now, and he also agrees that with the association that we were all created by God and God loves us all equally, and actually quotes a verse, Isaiah 1:18. Now, he has a question. What would you say about licensed farms that manufacture lethal alcohol? For example, in 2014, a certain company actually manufactured liquor that killed 89 people.
Thank you, Isaac, and thank you.
It's Balozi Daniel Ngetich.
Oh, Balozi.
Yes.
Thank you. I can see even you have a dream to become an ambassador. Thank you so much. The question that you've asked is about 2014.
Yes.
So those are so many years back.
That's 6 years, actually.
But one of the things that we've done, and one of the things that our members have done, and that's why we're calling on proper controls of licensing and what have you, and proper controls of government, is we've even gone ahead and encouraged our people. But then let me tell you, my bar owners and our bar members do not sell counterfeits. We do not engage in those excesses of everything. I am talking about investors against guys who are coming to joke in the industry. I am talking about people who contribute licenses to this county to the tune of 150 million. Those are not jokers in the industry, irrespective from the people who pay 20,000 to the people who pay hundreds and hundreds of thousands. So these are not people who come to joke in the industry. And that is why they came up with the dream and the idea of this association, to ensure that they'll be doing peer review, to ensure that everybody complies with the law. And that is something that they do, even in the WhatsApp groups and in our meetings. They remind one another. Besides, we also partner. Let me give you an example. The bar is a source of intelligence when it comes to security. And that is the reason it is either you open the bars or you have curfew to protect our properties. Because the bar owner is the last person to leave this town. Each and every illegal deal, when it's done, it comes to our places. So it is the main source of security and protection of assets and properties of this country. So on all those illegal establishments that were done here and there, I think the association was in the forefront to ensure they've been closed. The association is the forefront to fighting counterfeit. And we do not even support members who do counterfeits. So, and that is why from those years, if you look at those years, we've not had those cases. And even those cases of small counterfeits, the association participates in ensuring that they don't. I'll give you an example. Last year, November and December, my chairman, Simon Joroge, who's also the chairman of Murang'a, went round all the sub-counties with one message: that we will not accept. I think there's a manufacturer who was doing that. He was supplying some alcohol that they were suspecting was not proper in Murang'a using a Probox. They went ahead to amend the law that they will not accept alcohol being distributed in Murang'a via a Probox. They even went ahead and partnered with the Ministry of Health in Murang'a to ensure that that thing has been cancelled, and even the licenses of all those people, including the alcohol that will get into Murang'a. The county government inspectors have to go to their factory, even if it is out of Murang'a. And they even went to one that was, I think, in the depth of Homa Bay, and they refused that alcohol in that place. So we are actively participating in countering those vices. Let me go to something else. Yesterday we had the meeting with the county government, with a senior officer in the county government. And this person talked about licenses. 2-3 days ago, we had problems with the arrest and execution of mandate of the county enforcement agency. And it has been our appeal to His Excellency, the Governor of Nakuru County, and also the Council of Government, the Council of Governors, to kindly accept to allow our people to operate. We are planning a meeting with him next week, which is a request and a prayer of the whole industry. When we talk about the industry, we're talking of even distributors. We're talking of even manufacturers who pay licenses in this town, that all of us are straining. And one of my worries, and that's why maybe I've been very aggressive in fighting for reopening, is when this industry will be shut down. So on reopening, from our statistics, 50% of the bars will not be able to open. I have gone round, I've been to Naivasha, I've been to Molo. It really pained me to see, just somebody invites you, siyo kuja. Hapa ndio tulikuwa tunakulia nyama. Hapa ndio tulikuwa tunafanyia kitu fulani. Look at my stock. The counter is empty. So it's my passionate appeal to the county government of Nakuru, through His Excellency, kindly accept to waive our licenses 100%. We will engage, and anytime when you've called us on compliance, anytime when we came to your government and donated sanitizers, we're also planning to come to your government and donate masks. So we are making this passionate appeal because when we sat down with the senior government officer, he talked of 25%, 30% that we should pay. When we look at the seriousness of our people have even called me Subukia. The end of Subukia, they've called me to go around Subukia and do an assessment of how serious and severe our industry has been affected, and how these people, they are not willing. This year we're not even talking about profits. We're just talking on how we can hold on an industry for it to sit, not even to stand. So, and that's why we are making a passionate appeal on His Excellency. Kindly form a committee of experts where we will sit and let's do an assessment on the financial implication of our industry. And let's write a report. I like the way you operate your business, the way you operate the county professionally. So kindly we are calling on His Excellency, Governor Lee Kinyanjui. Let us sit down, let's do a committee, a professional committee that will sit down, assess on the impact of our industry for us to come up with a report. Let us not run in and out, and at the end of the day we'll have lost more employment, we'll have lost more revenue, we'll have lost more lives and more livelihoods. And I wouldn't like to see the young women whom everybody is attracted to when they attend to the bus going home. So I'm appealing to His Excellency, the Governor, kindly give us an opportunity next week to sit down with you Let us form a professional committee that will sit and assess on how we can come out and help our bar owners.
Thank you very much, and we wish you the very best moving forward.
Thank you so much.
It has been another edition of Between the Lines. I've been your host, Karanja Jackson. Today we've been discussing with Mr. Boniface Gachoka, who is the Secretary General of the Bar Owners Association here in Kenya. From all of us here in studio who made it possible, and for you, our dear viewers who've been watching us, thank you. Kwaheri, and stay safe.